When a family's loved one goes missing, the best outcome is that they will be found unharmed. However, as we know in the realm of true crime, the longer someone is missing, the slimmer the chances of them coming home really become. But it's not impossible. Stories of people who have resurfaced after years of being missing offer a glimmer of hope for situations like this. Elizabeth Smart and J.C. Lee Dugard are two of the best-known survivors who pieced their lives back together after being held captive for years. Just last week, it appeared that another remarkable case could be added to this list of survivors. Rudy Farias, a young man who was reported missing at 17 years old, nearly 8 years ago. The miracle of Rudy being found alive after all of this time made national headlines, and it seemed to be another one of those rare cases that could give families of missing people hope. Beyond ensuring Rudy's physical well-being, the burning questions revolved around where he had been and whether a kidnapper could still be out on the loose. However, the more people started looking into the details of what happened to Rudy, the weirder this story has become. It appears that the person who had been searching for Rudy the most may actually have had more to do with his disappearance than anyone thought. They may have even caused him just as much trauma as if he had been taken by a complete stranger. Every day, it seems like more and more bizarre information comes out about this case, possibly even leaving Rudy himself uncertain of the complete truth. Because it seems like there are three sides to the story. There is Quanell's story, Janie's story, and Rudy's story. And now Rudy has given an interview as of yesterday, giving his account of what happened, saying Quanell is not telling the truth. So what we're going to do in today's video is go through everything from the very beginning, what everybody has said happened, and you can make a decision for yourself what you believe the truth is. There are allegations of captivity, crimes in the sexual nature and assault, fraud, theft, and even conspiracies of a police cover-up. Honestly, it's hard to even know where to start when trying to decipher what's actually going on here. But I'm going to try and tell you all of the information that has been released so far so that we can keep track of this case and hopefully figure out what happened to Rudy. Hey guys, I'm Annie Elise. This is 10 to Life. Let's jump right in. As a quick reminder before we jump into the video today, I want to just remind you all that this is all my opinion and the statements of people involved, such as Quanell, the police department, Rudy, and Rudy's family members. Please form your own opinions and do your own research. 25-year-old Rudolph, or Rudy, Farias IV was born on October 1st, 1997 to parents Rudolph Farias III and Janie Santana. He was born in Houston, Texas. Even though they were nearly 8 years apart, Rudy grew up extremely close to his half-brother Charles Oresti. Everyone who knew them referred to them as not only brothers, but best friends. In 2011, a horrible tragedy struck when Charles was in a fatal motorcycle accident at just 21 years old, and Rudy and his mother were the first people to arrive at the crash scene. Rudy, who was just 13 years old at the time, was completely traumatized by witnessing his brother pass away, his best friend just gone in an instant, and he struggled greatly with dealing with the grief of losing someone that he was so close to. Only 3 years later, on August 19, 2014, Rudy's family would again go through another unimaginable tragedy. His father, 51-year-old Rudy Sr., who was a police officer with the Houston Police Department, took his own life while sitting in his patrol car. It soon came out that Rudy Sr. had just been relieved of duty after being involved in an internal affairs investigation for an alleged ticket rigging scheme. The scheme involved officers making false reports of speeding so that they could claim overtime pay for testifying in court. Rudy Sr. had earned $150,000 in overtime over the course of a 3-year period before his death. So now left without his brother and now his father, Rudy struggled greatly to cope with these losses, and his mental health declined as a result of this. People close to Rudy and his family have said that he began suffering from depression, PTSD, and anxiety, and that he was placed on medication for help. After both of these incredibly hard and life-altering events, Rudy's family said that with his deteriorating mental health, his mother, Janie Santana, began to start taking more and more care of him, until eventually it seemed like she had control of almost every aspect of his life. Janie had said that Rudy had become very weary of strangers, and in 2015, one of his cousins has said that even though he was 17 years old, Rudy had the mental age of around a 10-year-old. It's possible that after losing her son and her husband, Janie became overprotective and overparanoid about losing Rudy as well. Her husband clearly had mental health issues and was willing to take his own life. Maybe she felt like she needed to pay extra close attention to Rudy, who, according to her, had already made at least one attempt on his own life. However, on March 7, 2015, Janie called the Houston Police Department to report Rudy as missing after he hadn't returned home from walking the dogs around the neighborhood. The day before, on March 6th, Rudy reportedly took his 2 dogs for a walk at 6 p.m. A few hours later, one of the dogs returned home, but not Rudy. The next morning, the second dog showed up to the house, but still no Rudy. Now, obviously, this would concern any parent. At the time, Rudy was nearly 6 feet tall and 215 pounds and could have easily defended himself, unless there was someone with a weapon or if he had decided to do something to himself due to his depression. The thought of Rudy possibly being hit by a vehicle also crossed her mind, so the police began searching for him. A missing persons poster was created, noting that Rudy had mental health challenges, and it was said that it was believed he could have stopped taking his medication prior to going missing. It was noted that Rudy had asthma and was not in possession of his inhaler either. The flyer also described what Rudy was wearing when he left the house, which was blue jeans, a black t-shirt, gray cotton gloves, and brown shoes. After days of searching, there were still no signs of Rudy. At the time, the police didn't suspect any foul play and continued the search as only a missing persons investigation. Soon after Rudy went missing, his mother, Janie Santana, created a GoFundMe page in order to collect donations to help search for her son. And the GoFundMe description said, "It has been over a month and Rudy is still missing." Which is not true exactly. It had only been about 2 weeks, but it goes on and says, "Please help us find Rudy Farias IV. Rudy went out to walk his 2 puppies on March 6, 2015, and has not been seen nor heard from since then. Rudy's 2 puppies were found, but not Rudy. He suffers from both physical and mental disabilities, so we need to get him home ASAP. We are asking for donations to be able to offer a reward for information that will lead us to Rudy, as well as medical expenses for Rudy since he has been missing since March 6th, and each day that passes means his health is deteriorating gravely." Rudy's mother is a single parent who has already lost her eldest son in 2011 and Rudy's father in 2014. She needs financial assistance since she is unable to work, understandably so with her son missing. The bills are piling up, and Rudy's mother's health has also deteriorated as she is devastated, mentally, physically, and emotionally utterly exhausted. So as you can expect, people were moved by this heart-wrenching story of a mother who had already lost one son and Rudy's father, and now had a missing son as well. People ended up donating thousands of dollars to try to help Janie with money for a reward and for more assistance in the search. She made posts on her social media begging for help in finding Rudy and reminding people that he had physical and mental disabilities. As time went on, more and more resources and organizations, including even the highly successful EquiSearch search teams, tried to help find out where Rudy could have gone. Did he wander off in the woods somewhere to take his own life? Did he get kidnapped? Did he just run away to start a new life? Billboards were placed in and around Houston, and there were even people who paid for Janie to make various trips to other states where there had been sightings of Rudy. Private investigators were brought on to try and gather more information, but according to them and some other officers, Janie's story didn't quite add up from the beginning. Apparently, Janie had given investigators the incorrect date of birth for Rudy, and she wouldn't provide any recent photos of him for the flyers. Now, she later admitted to doing this because she thought that people would be more empathetic if he looked younger. She also claimed that Rudy had asthma and was in danger without his inhaler, after searchers found a backpack in the area that he went missing with an inhaler inside of it. One of the private investigators claimed that Rudy didn't actually have asthma though, and that the backpack belonged to some elementary school student who must have dropped it in the area. Another private investigator said that in 2017, Rudy's mom told him that detectives supposedly said that human smugglers could have taken Rudy with the purpose of trying to sell him. She told him that she believed that a woman in Mexico was holding him hostage, and she needed to gather ransom money for this smuggler. As we know, private investigators often uncover a lot of dirt that people have gone to great lengths to hide. And apparently, Rudy's mother had a pretty sketchy past. In 2012, she married a man named Gilbert Chiores, who at the time was in the Air Force and stationed in Tucson, Arizona. After only 1 year of marriage, Gilbert filed for an annulment after he allegedly found out that she was legally still married to at least one other man, and possibly had as many as 4 other husbands. Everyone who was looking into this case just started to feel like something was fishy, but could never quite put their finger on it apparently. One of the private investigators, named Brenda Paradise, said that she immediately doubted Rudy's mother's story because of all of the inconsistencies that she had found. She even told Dateline NBC years ago that there's something dark and dirty here. Puh, talk about foreshadowing. The private investigators weren't the only ones who felt like maybe she might have been trying to deceive people. Rudy's family members got the feeling that she was hiding something as well, and they even thought that she was possibly hiding Rudy in her house. One of Rudy's aunts, Pauline Sanchez, who works for a home healthcare company, has said that in the past couple of years, their elderly mother was living with Rudy's mother, Janie. Pauline would come by to take care of some of their mother's healthcare needs and to conduct wellness checks for the company that she worked for. She has said that whenever she would show up unannounced, Rudy's mom would sometimes take up to 20 minutes to answer the door, which Pauline found very suspicious. Not only would she often find their mother to be uncleaned and in filthy conditions, but there were certain rooms in the house that she would lock and would not allow Pauline access to. She said that on several occasions their mother would tell her, "Rudy is here," but that Rudy's mother, Janie, would say that she was hallucinating, that she didn't know what she was talking about, that she had dementia, or that she was just plain crazy. Pauline said that she took all of these notes down in her system at work and spoke with her family about her suspicions of Rudy being at that house.
Okay, but every time my mom would say, he is here, Janie Santana would come out. She's hallucinating. She's on medication. She doesn't know what she's saying. Okay, so what are you supposed to do? I have to expect her privacy. It's her house, right? So I go about my way and I put my little notes in my system. Okay, at work. As long as I did my job, I'm okay. It kept on, it lingered on, and it lingered on, and I kept telling everybody, I says, Janie is hiding Rudy. And I have to believe what my mom would tell us. Okay?
She also claims that she and other family members witnessed and knew about his mother allegedly physically and inappropriately harming Rudy. When family members or other people aware that Rudy had been reported missing called in reports of possible sightings, his mother Janie would apparently tell the police that they were confusing him with her nephew. After nearly 8 years, though, on June 29th, 2023, it seemed like Rudy had miraculously been found. At around 10 a.m. that morning, someone spotted a man lying outside a church called Immaculate Heart in the southeast Houston area. He was reportedly sleeping, badly injured, and unable to speak. The police found an item thought to be possibly a credit card that had his mother's identification on it. So the police contacted Janie and told her that her son had been found and told her that he was refusing to be transported by the ambulance. So Janie then transported him to the hospital with the police in tow, and she made a post on Facebook and seemed to be overwhelmed and relieved that her son was finally found after all of these years. She claimed to believe that her son had been beaten and abused and that someone had kidnapped him for all of these years. The Houston Police Department tweeted a statement which said, "We want to thank the media and the public for all of their support. My son, Rudy Farias, was found on Thursday, June 29th, after being missing for 8 years. Currently, we do not have any additional information on Rudy's case. What we do know is at the time of his recovery, a Good Samaritan located him unresponsive and immediately called police and 911. My son Rudy is receiving the care he needs to overcome his trauma, but at this time, he is nonverbal and not able to communicate with us. We are asking for privacy during this difficult time, but will share more details as Rudy continues to heal." Except apparently, he was never actually missing. When the news of Rudy's return started to make its way across news outlets and social media, there were many people left confused. Apparently, people who lived in Janie's neighborhood had no idea that Rudy, who is now 25 years old, was ever reported as missing. They reportedly had even spent time with him on a regular basis. And in another strange twist, his mother supposedly contacted a famous Houston civil rights activist named Quanell X because apparently the police wanted to speak to Rudy. And she said that she feared being accused of a crime unfairly as questions emerged about her story. Now, first of all, that's a really weird thing to automatically assume after your son has been supposedly missing for 8 years. If your son has truly been gone, what could you possibly be accused of? So who is Quanell X, and was this just another attempt for Janie to possibly garner sympathy or distract from the facts of the situation? As I mentioned, Quanell X is a Houston-based community activist and the leader of a group called the New Black Panther Nation, who has gone viral over a dozen times for his fight to reform the criminal justice system. He has fought for people who had suffered from police violence, unfair convictions, and racial discrimination in the workplace. So when Rudy's mother contacted him asking for assistance with her son, he did not hesitate. When police went to try to talk more with Rudy, he came into the room for support. Now, this was 8 days after Rudy had been found. Quanell has recounted that during their interaction, Rudy was sitting on the floor, crouched down, covered with a blanket, and holding onto his mother's leg. Janie told them that Rudy was nonverbal and wouldn't be able to answer any of their questions. He said that Rudy sheepishly looked up at him and said, "I know you. You're Quanell X," which is more than he had spoken to anyone since he had been found. So clearly Rudy had seen Quanell help other men and felt more comfortable and safe with him there. So he asked if he could shake his hand, and he said that Rudy reached out and it was like shaking a leaf. He asked Rudy if he could sit up and talk, and Rudy looked to his mom and she said, "No, he's going to have a panic attack. He's going to have a breakdown." So he asked if he would be okay, and Rudy shook his head yes. They put Rudy in a chair, and then Rudy's mother really nervously said that she wanted to leave because she knew Rudy was going to have a panic attack. The officer in the room apparently said to Janie, "Okay, well then contact us when you think he's better and ready to talk." Now obviously Quanell was surprised by this and persuaded them to just give Rudy a chance to speak. The police told him that they didn't want him to be in the room during the interview, but Rudy grabbed his hand as he stood to walk away and asked him to stay. So Quanell sat back down, and then they asked Janie to leave so that they could talk to him in private. They told her that he might open up more if she was not in the room. She reluctantly left the room and 3 minutes later came banging on the door to make sure that Rudy was not having a panic attack, and did the same thing again 5 minutes later. Finally, after interrupting and checking on him twice, she left Rudy in the room with Quanell and with the officer for over an hour, and Quanell said that the things Rudy explained happened to him would make even the most desensitized investigators want to vomit. He didn't go into too much detail, but it was enough to know that what Rudy has been through over the years is beyond disturbing. The police have in fact determined that Rudy returned back home only one day after he was reported as missing. He said that when he got home, his mother told him that he was in trouble for running away, and that he had a warrant out for his arrest. She said he needed to hide at home or else he would go to jail. So Rudy said that over time, his mother convinced him more and more that if the police found out that he was actually at home, then he would be arrested, and he became terrified of anyone finding out the truth. He said that his mom would constantly cross his boundaries, that is a direct quote, and when he was asked what that meant, he said that she would make him be the dad and make him be her husband, that she would kiss him on the mouth, make him sleep in the same bed with her, and do other things in the bed with her as well. He says that she would rip open the shower curtain when he was taking a shower, and she would take off all of her clothes, get in with him, and make him bathe her. Rudy also said that his mother constantly gave him all sorts of drugs, including mushrooms. After years of activism and working with people who have committed atrocious crimes, Quanell said that even he could barely hold back tears while Rudy spoke. He said that when he started getting emotional, Rudy patted him and said, "Don't worry, it's okay," trying to console him, which is just so sad. He appears to be the victim in this. So after they were done speaking, the officers went and put his mother in handcuffs for what Rudy was alleging she did to him. Quanell said that all of this was being captured on camera, and when they walked out of the room, the officers let his mother in to go inside and talk to Rudy. She went in and cracked the door, but they could all still see and hear what she was saying. He said that Rudy's mom sat down in front of Rudy and started asking what he told them, and that he needed to change his story, and also said, and I quote, "If you tell them what you have told them, then I will go to jail and I will kill myself," which is seriously just so disturbing and extremely manipulative.
That he didn't like getting in the bed with her. That he would try to sneak out of the bed and sometime hide under the bed, but she told him he had to be her husband. That's a damn shame, man. A little boy said she was the one providing drugs to him for years. Hallucination drugs, mushrooms, etc. And that the reason why he was left, he was just tired of her crossing his boundaries. When he would shower, she would come and pull the shower curtain back and stare at him, and then she would make him bathe her with the soap. And he ran away this time because he was tired.
Well, now, you've been doing this for many years. How emotional has today been with this case?
It's a goddamn shame. I ain't never in my life heard of a mother doing to a child what this woman did.
Were you at all there when the mother was questioned?
Yes.
And what was her reaction when
Yes.
you talked to her?
And I knew something was wrong with the story when she was questioned.
Now Quanell probably wouldn't have just come right out and started telling the world Rudy's business like this, but he didn't really have another choice. After their conversation with Rudy, the Houston Police Department went on to make a press conference, and they had a much different recollection of the things that Rudy told them than Quanell did. In their press conference, they said that it's true that Rudy has not been missing for 8 years, and they actually had interactions with him on several occasions. However, Rudy apparently gave the officers fake names and fake birth dates, no doubt at the instruction of his mother. They said that his mother would go on to deceive the police and remained adamant that Rudy was still missing, even though there were several friends and family members who claimed to have seen him coming and going on a regular basis. What has upset people the most about the police department's press conference is that they announced that at this time, the DA has decided not to charge Rudy's mother for any of the fictitious reports. They also said that there were no reports of any sexual things happening, which again is much different than what Quanell reported was said when they all spoke to Rudy.
Yes, I interviewed him, and no, there was no, I'm trained to listen for probable cause. I'm trained to listen for statements that can help me get charges or move forward with a case. And no, there was no statements made during this investigation so far, no.
During the question portion of the press conference, a reporter asked police why Quanell would be saying that Rudy's mother him and drugged Rudy, and asked if they believed that he was lying. They responded by saying the generic statement of, this is an active investigation, we take all accusations seriously, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what they said. They blatantly said there were no allegations of any sort of sex crimes taking place. So how can there be such a discrepancy between what the officer heard and what Quanell heard? After the reporters kind of pushed back a little bit on the answers they were giving, it seemed like they kind of backtracked and said, well, we don't release information on any sort of sex crimes. That's state law. I can't comment on that.
Don't release any type of information related to that's just state law. I can't comment on that.
Go ahead.
Is Rudy a victim then in all of this, or did he and his mother work together? I mean, he wasn't missing.
The investigation is still going on, Courtney, and I'm not going to say he's a victim or not. I'm thinking, and saying we're going to treat this just as we do with any potential victim or victim, and we're going to give respect to everybody that's involved. We're going to conduct our investigation, and we're kind of right at the beginning of it. This investigation is going to go on after this press conference.
So obviously Quanell was not happy with this press conference because he felt like they were basically calling him a liar and working to discredit things that he said Rudy disclosed. So he and his group, as well as members of Rudy's family and members of his neighborhood, held their own press conference right outside of Rudy's mother's house. And he basically said that the police department is a bunch of liars.
See, they know what I'm saying is the truth. That dirty, low-down damn cop was right there with me when Rudy said everything that he said. Just go back and look at the press conference. Why didn't you say, well, from what we know, there was no sexual relationship? You so freely saying that there was no reported. So what are you suggesting? Because he was of age, he gave consent? Is that what you're trying to suggest? Let me tell you something. Rudy is a victim. And for HPD to suggest on any level that that young boy may be involved in this scheme, that's wrong. That boy wasn't involved in no scheme. That woman a straight up monster. I'm telling you straight up. That's what that woman is. Woman sit there and told Grizzy and I both multiple lies. Multiple lies. And then get in the room with the detective and she starts singing a whole nother song.
Rudy's mother also allegedly threatened Quanell if he came outside of her house, even though the street in front of her home is public property.
This is ground zero, man, for Rudy Farias and what took place. This house needs to be cleansed. This neighborhood needs to be healed. Everybody in this neighborhood has suffered because of what this woman did. And I came here to let Rudy know we're not afraid to come to your house of horror. Your house of horror right here, we'll come here. Your house of hell, we'll come here. And before I pulled up, I got a phone call before I pulled up saying that she was inside the house with guns. And that if I came to speak in front of her house, she had guns and she was going to use them. Let me tell that mama something real quick. You don't know who in the hell you playing with.
At all. We're not afraid of you.
Let's be real crystal clear, mama, because you got the right one in me. Trust me. So if you inside and you watching, and you want to come out and feel froggy, hop, baby. Because we won't need HPD to do the best. Nobody at that point. She's so bold, she gonna make threats. That's because the police have not put a rusty raggedy behind in jail. She has not suffered no consequences. That's the problem why she talks so silly like that.
So now that we know that Rudy was in fact not missing, why did his mother allegedly do this? What was her motivation? Many people believe that this is just a classic case of greed. I mentioned before that Rudy's older brother passed away in that tragic accident in 2011. Well, his brother also had a life insurance policy, and he had made Rudy the beneficiary. Why does it always seem like everything revolves around a dang life insurance policy? Seriously. So Quanell and his group said that in Texas, a person would have to either be deceased or be missing for 4 years before a life insurance payout can be transferred to next of kin, which would be Rudy's mother. They said that if she kept him missing for 4 years, then she would have gotten that money for herself. Then, after she maybe saw how much money and attention she was getting from Rudy being missing, she just decided to keep it going. I mean, people were basically taking her on free trips to raise money and look around for Rudy in places like New York and California, and she was getting money off the GoFundMe, which she has since been banned from. But not only that, but she allegedly gave Rudy her credit card for him to go out and buy her things, and then reported the credit card as stolen to the credit card company so that she could be reimbursed for all of that money. All of that is just awful in itself, to just use your child as a cash cow and make him quit going to school, not let him get his own job, and make him stay low profile in his neighborhood where his neighbors didn't know he was missing is absolute insanity and disgusting. Quanell also said that the police department didn't even offer Rudy any rehabilitation after he told them that he had been forced to take substances for years. He said that Rudy has scars all over his body, and that his mother even forced him to secretly go to work with her to do her job. He mentioned several times that he has their meetings all on tape, so the fact that the police are denying what's been said is just outright bizarre. Now, Rudy's mom has still not stopped lying, even after the truth has started to come out.
Now they want to arrest me because they said I was hiding him.
In an off-camera interview, she reportedly told Fox News that Rudy had been kidnapped in 2015 and forcibly taken to Mexico with a bag over his head. She said he walked all the way back to Houston, all on his own. People who live in the same neighborhood as Janie and Rudy said that they have always known him as Dolph, which is a nickname for Rudolph, and that he would also come over to their houses from time to time and hang out in their garage. But after all of this started coming out, they said that Rudy's mom apparently offered to pay them to pretend like they had never seen him, or that they were mistaking him with her nephew. One woman who has known Rudy for a couple of years said that he always had a gun on him for protection. Several people allege that Rudy's mom also offered to pay them to break into her house to get rid of some of her things, and that another time she offered to pay them to go and wake Rudy up by knocking on his window. The neighbor believes that Janie asked them to do this because she knew Rudy would be on edge from everything going on and would get scared of someone breaking in or knocking on the window and would shoot at them. Basically, she thinks that since they know too much, Janie wants to get rid of them. Another creator called Grizzy Hood News went looking behind the fence in Janie and Rudy's backyard and found a little secret gate and food, trash, and a sitting area back in the woods. So maybe that's where Rudy's mother would make Rudy go when anyone would show up at their house. It's also just crazy that the DA has still not decided to charge her with anything, if at the very least to make sure that Rudy is safe. He's currently staying with one of his mother's friends, who is obviously going to be on her side, even though his other family members, like his aunts and cousins, want him to come and stay with them. They said they know what's been going on, and that soon everything will come to light. During Quanell and Rudy's family statements, they have insinuated that there is some sort of police cover-up happening here. One of his aunts believes that Janie has connections with the Houston Police Department, which is why they let this go on for so long. Quanell basically said the same thing, but also that the police may have just been embarrassed that they didn't figure any of this out over the years and were basically tricked. There were times when the police came to Rudy's mother's house, and if they had done a search on the address, they would have seen that it was the home of a missing child. So really, there is no reason that Rudy and his mom should have been able to get away with giving false names on so many different occasions. On the opposite side of the coin, there are people who believe that Janie's family is just doing this to get back at her for something, and that Quanell is using Rudy's case for some sort of political agenda. Quanell said that he doesn't believe Rudy is safe as long as Janie has access to him. Now here's what Rudy had to say in his latest interview about what took place. And he did several interviews, but they all had the same context, and some of them it looked like there were several different people in the room at the same time, all recording for their outlet. So I'm only going to play one of the versions here because, again, it is all the same. So take a listen.
That although you're an adult, how difficult it was for you to be in this situation and maybe not be able to get out of.
It felt like Stockholm Syndrome, honestly. Like, just held against my will mentally, not physically, just constantly, like, she was bombarding me with negative thoughts. And, like, every time I come around her, she just makes me, it's like little triggers just pop up. And it's like, if I'm trying to get away from my mom, I'll hear a random noise and it'll be like a little reminder in my head, like, don't do that, don't say this, or, you know, just little things like, she's putting ideas or thoughts into my head whenever I'm just trying to, you know, just understand the world.
Do you think your mom took advantage of you?
Heavily.
How does that feel? I mean, I can't imagine. You said your mom is really the only person in your family you have. How was that you felt your own mom took advantage?
It's like I lived in prison. It's like I lived in a jail my whole life. I just wanted to be free. I wanted to have my own job. I just wanted to live my life. I just wanted to just love somebody, you know, have somebody else who would actually love me, because I wasn't sure what love was. I struggled understanding my emotions. I don't know when I'm sad and that I'm sending out negative energy. I don't understand when I'm happy and sending out positive energy. The only way I was understanding how to communicate with people was online, and even then you can't trust everything you see online, because half the time people are just making their own assumptions and spinning what they want, and just I can't ever speak my truth because everybody wants to assume things.
Can you go into the brainwashing? What would she say to you? Would she say something would happen if you were to leave her home?
It wasn't that. It's just after I left, I started to understand that all of it's just an algorithm. It's literally all an algorithm. If you look at something black, you understand that they understand. If you look at something white, it'll confuse you when you're trying to go in a positive direction. If you look at something red, it'll remind you of love. If you look at green, it'll remind you of, you know, like grounding people that are there for you and stuff, you know?
Did you feel stuck? And what was she doing exactly that kept you hidden?
It's just every time I would try to leave or, you know, try to do things for myself, like I want to go get my own money, I want to go work a different job, I want to do this and that, they would always just come right back around to just, don't do that, or it's bad, don't do that, you know, like the cops are going to come out, they're going to do this, they're going to arrest you if you're driving a car without a license or this and that, and it's just like, oh, how do you expect me to get a license to drive a car if I can't even go out? All I do is work 12-hour shifts 7 days a week and I get $60. Like, I don't understand how that's fair.
Why do you think she wanted to keep you hidden?
I don't know. It all started just because I had a speeding ticket. I went like 70 and a 55 trying to go to work. And then when that all started, it's just like I wasn't able to have a life. I was starting to start working and growing and, you know, provide for myself. And then after that happened, I couldn't do it.
I think the question everyone has is why your mom would lie and say that you've been missing for 8 years. Did she ever tell you, did you ever ask, Mom, why are we pretending that I'm missing?
And that's the thing, when it comes to the real small details like that, I don't remember. It's like it just blocks it out, like she's blocking it out for me or something. It's like I just want to remember the facts. I just want to understand, who I am and what I'm trying to do, and just try to live my life the way I want to, not how she wants me to.
Were you questioning your mom, like, Mom, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I would always ask her stuff like, when am I gonna get a job? When am I gonna have my own car? When am I gonna be able to make my own decisions? When am I gonna be able to just go out and be free? Like, why can't we just go to the police station? Why can't I just get a lawyer? Why can't I just do that? And she's like, oh, you can't get a lawyer because it's too much money. We can't do that because it's too much money. Everything was always just money, 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 money. It's a constantly money.
If you had to guess why she was doing this, was she making money from you being missing, as far as you know?
I don't know. I think somebody at one point mentioned something about an original GoFundMe page. And then my mom wanted to say something about, like, one of my aunts or something was, like, stole all the sodas or something. But meanwhile, where's all the money that they raised, like...
What happened? Why were you in the hospital? And I guess it was mentioned to our reporter at the time that you had cancer?
I had a tumor on my heel at one point, but that was irrelevant. Originally, I think all that had started because she wanted me to fake taking a bottle of Tylenol or, like, Elise PM or something, sleeping pills. And then she wanted to fake me going to the hospital, and she pretty much just forced me to go into the ER and be like, hey, act like you're sick and you're overdosing and
This was before you were missing?
Yes, sir.
Why? Why was this happening?
I don't even remember. I think it was something to do with school. I was depressed and I was cutting my wrist when I was, getting sad. I didn't have an idea how to, understand my emotions. It was after my brother passed away. I didn't know how to deal with pain and depression, so I would just literally just rip a Coke can open and just run it on my wrist like a cheese grater just to feel something.
Police seem so focused on your age that you were 17, which is an adult in Texas. But can you talk about the fact that, yes, you were an adult, but the mindset that you've been in?
Yeah, it was just like a constant brainwashing, like a Stockholm type of syndrome where it's just, you just fall in love with your captive and just want to take care of them, do this and that, it would just constantly just be me trying to help and just take care of my mom, do whatever she needs because I cared about her and she's the only person I had.
Did your mom, over this last 8 years, did she say anything or like, is there anything that sticks out in your mind that bothers you or that you remember conversations with her that
just... I don't know, I used to have to sleep in her bed sometimes. I don't remember why, just like next to her. It wouldn't be anything sexual or anything like that. I wouldn't lie about that because there's plenty of people that need honest truths when it comes to those things. That just muddies the water to lie about those type of things. That's where I said the media, they like to twist my words and confuse things. I never said anything bad about her in that regard, but just boundaries she would push or make me uncomfortable and I would say stop and she's like, well, why, what did I do? I didn't do anything wrong, and then I would just be like, okay, I didn't do anything wrong and just leave it at that, just push my boundaries if you want, do whatever you had to do. And I would just be like a people pleaser, but I didn't have people to please, just my mom. I didn't have anybody to take care of or, help understand me. It was just her all the time, my mom. I don't want any contact with her at all. I just want to live my life away from her. She can do whatever she wants. I don't care. I just want to live my life. I want to have a family, a job, a car, just a house. I just want to live my life. I want to be happy. I don't want to keep going back to those negative thoughts she always has on me. I'm so tired of them. I'm so tired of those thoughts. Just constant negativity around that house, and I hate it. Seems like every time she comes around me, it just fuels negativity into me, like she's just downloading it into my brain.
And every time they'd come over, what would you have to do?
Hide. If my uncles or my aunts came to visit my mom or my family would come to visit my grandma, that's the main reason. They would go over there to see my grandma. And I would just have to listen to my family be happy and cheerful on the other side of a door. And I'm just like, I want my families, you know, I just want people, I just want communication. I just want people to understand that we need to start talking more and just stop, you know, like.
Did you want to just end it right there and go out and tell them that you're here and you're okay?
I just want them to know that I wanted to scream for them, but at the same time I just couldn't, because the only person I was able to trust was my mom. She told me so many things about my other family that I didn't know. I wasn't able to verify. I mean, in a sense, just not in a physical, restraints or anything, but mentally she held me against my will, which is, I wanted to just come out and say stuff and be honest, and every time I would try to, she would just either be, no, don't do it, or, all right, go do it.
Why do you think she did that?
I don't know. It's because maybe a lot of both of our problems stemmed from my brother passing away. My brother had passed away, and ever since then, he was like our glue. He was like the father figure, he's a provider. He took care of the family, me and my mom. And then when I couldn't take care of my mom anymore, I had to take care of my grandma. And it was difficult, especially at the end.
Did you see your mom change her personality over the years?
She was always kind of had that mentality, try to talk to her about something positive and then, or address her issues, and then my mom would just deviate, sidetrack, or completely ignore it. Especially stuff like mental health, or I wanted to live my life, and just something inside of my brain kept going back to her, she was my life support in a sense, I needed her. Or at least she made me feel that way, She never gave me the confidence or the guidance or the teaching that I needed, She never gave me anything other than just the bare necessities and a job worth slaving over to help her pay bills and debts or whatever, or tickets and stuff,
I'm sure you've heard or seen what Quanell told the media last week.
About what in particular?
About things that he says that you told him in that hotel room last week.
Specifically
about some of the sexual things.
See, that's what I'm saying. The twisting. No, I didn't say anything like intercourse or this and that.
But no, I don't necessarily think he didn't get into specifics like that either. But he did mention that your mom wanted you to play the role of husband in the house.
Yeah, pretty much. It basically felt like that. Make sure to cook, or, oh, you didn't make me any food, you didn't do this and that. It's just I just want to provide for myself. I don't want to keep providing for my mom. I just treat it like a roommate towards the end, I'm tired of being your son. I just want to be your roommate. I just want to live my life. Give me my check instead of $60 for 12-hour shifts 7 days a week at night, I just want to live.
She would make you go to work with her, is that?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we don't want to twist your words. We want to say it from your perspective, and we want to make sure we get this right. So I know she had you play the role of a father, but as far as sexual assault or something of that nature, did she ever force? You don't have to go into detail, but
she didn't force herself on me or anything like that. It wouldn't be anything like I would have to go get a kit or go file a police report. Okay. It would never be anything like that. Just stuff that really made me uncomfortable, and I didn't have any references or other people to bounce off of to understand that, if it's a healthy thing that she does or not. Maybe it's just me not understanding how people work, because she's the only person I understand.
What have they been saying to you, and what's it been like?
I mean, they're trying the best that they can and giving me space that they can, but it's a struggle still, I'm just slowly trying to take it one day at a time, it's just a lot it overwhelms me very much.
Given everything that you've been through and with your mom, I mean, do you think there's something that police should know about?
Just that there's a lot of corruption. And it's literally through the colors. Like I said, I'm not saying, oh, there's corrupt cops and this and that. Literally, it's a corruption of the mind. It's through nanobots and it's through the flu vaccines and everything. That's why people have that first memory of waking up and being alive whenever they're a kid, It's like I said, literally corruption, like the colors. I'm not talking about the skin tones. I literally mean actual colors. Whenever you look at them, they influence the direction you go. And online, the media, like the computers and the people we talk to, it's all connected in a sense. That's why it just confuses us. Whenever we look at white things, we get distracted and stuff, and we look at the reds and we remind us that it's love, but they kind of influence us to assume, you know, like through bad stuff online, they're like, oh, red's bad, you know, it's evil, it's a devil. It's like, it's not all that.
For 8 years, you haven't really been able to speak to anyone besides some neighbors, your mom, going to work sometimes. Your communication seems like it's been very little. Do you think that's impacted you throughout the years, as
Yes.
not being able to really have real relationships with people?
Exactly. I wasn't able to understand like how people thought or acted, you know, like I would try to introduce myself, say hello to people online or this and that, and every time it just seemed like, you know, just completely get shot down by people, and I'm just trying to make friends or socialize, and it's just like I don't understand how to talk to people sometimes, you know. It feels like I'm speaking a completely different language than them, and I just don't understand sometimes. Just a job, get my own money, and help out my communities, help out my people, and help out other kids like me. Because I don't want this to happen to other people, because I'm sure it happens to a lot of people. A lot of abuse and just neglect and just harmful ways of parenting that shouldn't be out there, you know. There's just so many negative ways that kids are just getting abused, and they don't understand or realize that there's no help for them.
Another question we have for you is, so it's totally up to you or not. At first, we weren't going to because of the sexual assault aspect, but we want to put the record straight that you said that part's not true.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
want to show your face, or you don't want to show your face?
I'm not a big fan of showing my face, especially with a lot of people already knowing what I look like.
Oh,
it just makes it even worse.
I just want to make sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't worry, Rudy, we got you.
Anything we didn't ask that you think is important that you want us to mention, because we were here to finally tell your story. Anything that we didn't ask that you want to make sure people know about?
Just all I can say is just spread positivity and love.
The people that you're with, you know, a lot of people are coming down hard on Nikki and the people
They
you're
don't
with.
deserve it. They don't. They really don't. They helped me so much, and they've given me a place to stay and the family, in a sense. You know, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
It really does. I never had, you know, a lot of people to talk with or socialize with, and it just makes me happy knowing that I have people here that I can trust and that can take care of me and that understand that, you know, sometimes people struggle.
So you consider yourself safe, out of harm, all that, right? Like you're with.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm happy here. I'm very happy here, and they're very good people. They don't deserve any negativity towards them or hatred. They should have a lot of help and support and guidance and just prayers and positivity. Just everything that anybody would need to be happy in life. You know, just.
And your mom, when she comes by, do you feel like, you know, you are being like kept away from her when she comes and stops by or tries to talk to you?
I
or?
just don't want her here because I know the way she acts, it influences everybody around me. It's not just me. It's like she sends that negativity towards me, and then I send it back out towards everybody else, and I don't want that.
Yeah.
I know Grizzy was mentioning that you might have had like someone from your high school reach out, and you've had a lot of attention from
people,
this, a girl.
Yeah. You got some classmates, man, when you were going to to Catholic school. You got some classmates reaching out, which I told you about. Any messages to all the people that know you from before all this went down, that love you, that say they're here for you?
Just thank you very much for reaching out, and when I'm ready, I'll be able to reach out to the people I care about and love. And
Are you surprised by all this attention? I mean, it's been on the news across the world.
I wasn't expecting that much attention, to be honest. I didn't realize that it was happening so big, you know, just growing so much.
Are you going to take, I know police mentioned that there were some resources. Are you plans to talk to anybody that they put you in touch with?
At some point. It's just right now, I just rather do it by myself, you know, just try to learn to understand how to live and be a normal person, you know.
Have you
how to
gotten
grow and be nice.
Have you gotten an attorney?
I don't know. I don't think think so.
Lawyer? No?
No, sir. Not that I'm aware of.
And then, have you talked to Quanell since you saw him at the hotel?
No.
No? Okay.
No, sir.
You guys have anything else? Anything else you want to add, Rudy?
Just spread some positivity.
Well,
Spread wildflower, not wildfire, because we need more colors and beauty in this world. We don't need any more hatred or burning things down. We need to just stop, trying to disassemble everything and just take out the bolts and the screws and try to clean things, instead of looking at everything so negatively. Just look at all the positivity in the world. Focus on the positivity, because every time you focus on the negativity, it just creates more negativity around you and your communities.
Now, first of all, Rudy does not appear to be autistic to me, nonverbal to me. He seems to be very well spoken. Why he wanted to blur his face, I'm not entirely sure, since his face has already been out there. Maybe it was to further reduce the stigma and the attention that the media is putting on this. I'm not sure. But it's interesting because he does state that nothing sexual in terms of needing an actual sexual kit took place. He also doesn't necessarily contradict what Quanell said. I think that the details that were shared could have been misinterpreted by Quanell. Sure, if he said that his mother made him sleep in the same bed with him, play husband, even the bathing comment, sure, that may be taken by some as a form of assault, absolutely, or it may make your mind wander that something maybe more serious and more physical took place. So could this just be a simple miscommunication and misunderstanding, and Quanell took what Rudy had said to him as something much different? Or is it possible that now Rudy, after suffering from what he claims to be Stockholm Syndrome for years and years, is he still trying to protect his mother in some way to make sure that charges aren't filed? I did think that the comment he made was very interesting about inappropriate things happening, but nothing that would constitute an RAPE kit. Because to me, that immediately made me go back to the movie Precious, if you've ever seen that, where the mother forced her daughter to perform oral on her and some other things. Again, not saying that that's what happened here, but could it have been that if they were sleeping in bed together and she kissed him on the mouth, if there was, say, an HJ that took place, or perhaps oral sex that took place, nothing that would constitute a kit happening, but certainly would be considered assault? Or was this truly simply a misunderstanding on Quanell's part when Rudy first disclosed all of this? Another thing I want to mention, but I have not seen the documents myself, is that it is said that Quanell does have many lawsuits in his history. Now, I don't know what the lawsuits are for. Again, I have not seen them myself, so I don't know if it's in fact true, if what it goes towards his credibility, what the motives may have been with all of that. So please, again, make your own opinions and determinations from everybody's statements involved. So as you can imagine, this case just got a lot more confusing, and nobody really knows what the truth is. The media is still swirling and going crazy over this, and some people now are suggesting that maybe this whole thing was a hoax, and not in your typical balloon boy type hoax, but a hoax in the sense that Rudy was complicit in hiding all those years, that perhaps he was aware of the money they were receiving from the GoFundMe and other things, and that now he's flipping on his mother and trying to save himself by saying it was Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, there really are so many different ways that this case goes, and it is getting very, very messy. So once more, I just want to remind everybody that everything said in this video is strictly my own opinion, allegations and statements that have been made by Quanell, Rudy, the police, Rudy's family, and please form your own opinions. Now, my question for you guys, what the heck do you think is going on with this case if you've been following it? Was this just insurance fraud gone terribly wrong? Or is there something more sinister going on here? He's obviously opened up a lot more now that he hasn't been in the full control of his mother, but even now, he says he doesn't want her to go to jail. Now, that is a classic response of someone who has a trauma bond or Stockholm Syndrome when a victim develops sympathy for the person harming them. And also, who's to say if any brainwashing took place over the last 8 years? It's possible that Janie is mentally ill because there are many people coming out saying that she has multiple social media accounts under all different names and that she allegedly regularly catfishes people. So could this be some sort of Munchausen by proxy situation? But instead of wanting attention for her child being sick, she liked the attention from her child being missing? She reportedly even went as far as to go to a coroner's office to see if an unidentified deceased young man that had come in was Rudy. Like she went and looked at someone else's dead child to keep up with her little charade of Rudy being missing. Or was this all done for companionship in a sick, close-knit, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but like the enmeshment between a mother and a son? Was that her projecting that onto him because she no longer had a husband or a male figure in her life and then it just became incestuous? Was that the motivation after the money started? What do you think? I do find it sketchy that the police are claiming not to have known about any sexual claims or physical harm allegations when Rudy's family has said they did know and refused to do any exams on him years ago, and that there were multiple reports. Regardless, Rudy has been through significant trauma, and I pray and truly hope that he gets the help he needs and the justice that he deserves. New details are coming out, I'm not even kidding, every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, because everything, it's like you're pulling on the loose thread and everything is just beginning to unravel. So I'm sure that we will learn the truth about this case in the near future. I'm sure more harrowing details will emerge, and I'm sure that we will get a glimpse as to what the true situation was inside that home. I know for certain that I'm going to be following this case very, very closely. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of those updates, take a quick second right now, pause the video, press the subscribe button below. It's completely free, guys, but that way, anytime you're scrolling on YouTube or you're on your computer on YouTube, if I post a new video on this case, you will see it pop up in your feed. So if you don't want to miss any updates on this case, make sure you hit subscribe. Also, as a reminder, I give real-time case updates over on Instagram, just via Instagram stories, because I can do it in the moment. So if you're not following along on there, make sure you take a quick second to do so. It's @_Annie Elise. All right, guys, I will keep you updated on this twisted, crazy case, but I'm curious to know what you guys think and what you make of all of this. Are there any details that you've heard that I've left out? It seems, again, like details are coming out of left field every single minute. So is there something that you've heard that maybe I left out? What do you think really happened? What do you think the motive was? Let's get the discussion going in the comments. All right, guys, I'll keep you updated. And until the next case, stay safe. Bye.